The sun beat down mercilessly on the crowded downtown street, shimmering off glass towers and bouncing onto the cracked pavement. Amid the endless honks, chatter, and the sound of footsteps against concrete, one corner stood apart from the rest, a modest food truck painted in cheerful yellow and white stripes. Above its counter, in neat hand-painted letters, was written, "Maya's Kitchen, love served hot." Inside stood a young woman, her apron slightly stained with sauces, her hair tied back in a messy bun, and her smile, the kind that could warm the coldest heart. Her name was Maya Alvarez, and though her life was far from easy, she carried herself with a quiet resilience that people noticed. For Maya, every day began at 4 a.m. She'd prep the vegetables, knead the dough, and marinate the chicken before rolling her small food truck out to this busy corner. Selling tacos, sandwiches, and bowls of steaming noodles wasn't just her livelihood, it was her dream. Her late father had always wanted her to own a restaurant, but after he passed away suddenly when she was 19, all Maya could afford was this little truck. And so, she worked, rain or shine, smile or tears, to keep that dream alive. On this particular day, the line stretched long. Office workers, delivery boys, and construction workers, all waited patiently for their order. Maya moved fast, juggling orders while joking with her regulars. "Extra chili for you again, Mr. Lopez," she asked one construction worker. "You know me too well, Maya," he grinned. "Gotta keep you awake out there," she teased, handing him his steaming burrito. Her eyes sparkled, but behind them lived exhaustion. Few noticed, except those who cared enough to look closer. Toward the back of the line stood a man who looked oddly out of place. He wore a tailored navy blue suit, Italian leather shoes, and a watch worth more than Maya's entire food truck. His hair was neatly styled, his sharp jawline catching the sunlight, but his expression was unreadable as he watched the girl behind the counter. He could have eaten at any five-star restaurant in the city, yet here he was, waiting in line like everyone else. When his turn came, Maya didn't even glance up at first. "What'll it be?" she asked quickly, scribbling an order for the man before him. "A chicken wrap," he said, his voice deep but soft. Maya froze. Something about the tone, it stirred something inside her, something she couldn't quite name. Slowly, she lifted her head and met his eyes. For a split second, her hand stilled on the counter. Her heart skipped. His eyes were familiar. Too familiar. But Maya shook it off. She had customers waiting. "That'll be $6, she said briskly, as if she hadn't just been pulled backward in time by a pair of brown eyes. The man handed her a bill. Their fingers brushed, and the tiny contact felt like an electric spark. Maya pulled her hand back quickly, focusing on the wrap she was preparing. When she finally handed him his food, he didn't leave right away. He lingered by the counter, studying her. "Still remember me?" he whispered, his voice carrying a weight only she could hear. Maya's heart stopped. Her eyes snapped up to his again. For the first time, she really looked at the shape of his face, the curve of his smile, the dimple she thought she'd never see again. Ethan Carter. Her childhood best friend. The boy who had once promised her the world before life tore them apart. Maya gripped the counter for balance. She hadn't seen Ethan in nearly 10 years. Back then, he was just a lanky teenager from the same poor neighborhood as her. They'd shared laughter, secrets, and dreams beneath the stars. But he had left without a word, chasing a future she couldn't even imagine. And now here he was, in a suit, looking every inch the man's success had built. I have customers," Maya muttered, forcing her eyes away. She turned to the next order, pretending her hands weren't trembling. Ethan didn't push. He simply nodded, took his food, and walked away, but not without leaving her shaken to her very core. That night, long after she parked the food truck back in her tiny rented lot, Maya sat on her bed staring at the ceiling. "Still remember me?" His words echoed again and again. Of course she remembered. How could she forget the boy who once carried her books, fixed her bike, and held her when she cried the night her father died? But remembering hurt, because Ethan had left, and she had been the one to pick up the broken pieces of her life alone. She didn't know why he was back, or why he'd come to her food truck of all places, but she knew one thing. She couldn't let him walk back into her life. Not when she had worked so hard to build walls around her heart. Yet deep down, beneath the armor of survival, a tiny voice whispered, What if he never really forgot you either? The next morning, Maya woke up with puffy eyes. She had tossed and turned all night, replaying Ethan's face in her mind like a cruel movie she couldn't stop watching. She wanted to shake it off, tell herself it was nothing, just an old memory resurfacing. People change. Time changes them. He wasn't the boy who used to race her down cracked sidewalks or sneak her extra churros from the corner bakery. He was someone else now. Someone untouchable. Still, her heart didn't listen. At 11 a.m., the line outside her food truck was already long. Maya forced a smile and kept her rhythm going: chop, grill, serve, repeat. She told herself she wouldn't see him again. Yesterday was a coincidence. But then, as she glanced up, she saw him. Ethan Carter. In line. Again. Her grip on the spatula tightened. Why was he here? With all his money, power, and polished shoes, why come back to a street corner food truck? When his turn came, he ordered simply, the same as yesterday. This time, Maya didn't meet his eyes. $6. He handed her the money without hesitation. Then, instead of stepping aside, he leaned a little closer. You always did look busiest when you were avoiding me, he said quietly. Maya's hands froze mid-wrap. She quickly shoved the food at him, glaring. I don't have time for games. Some of us have to work for a living. He didn't flinch. So do I. Maya snorted. In that suit. Please. For a moment, a flicker of something unreadable passed through Ethan's eyes. He tucked the food into his bag and stepped aside without arguing. But Maya felt his gaze on her the whole time he lingered nearby, eating at one of the benches across the street. By the third day, Ethan was there again. And the fourth. And the fifth. Each day he ordered the same thing. Each day, he tried to talk. And each day, Maya brushed him off. Until one afternoon, when the lunch rush died down, and he was the only customer left. You're really not going to talk to me, are you? Ethan asked, standing at the counter with that stubborn calmness she remembered so well. Maya slammed the register shut. What do you want from me, Ethan? You disappeared for 10 years. 10 years without a single call, letter, anything. And now you show up in a fancy suit like we're supposed to pick up where we left off. Her voice cracked despite her efforts to sound strong. Ethan's face softened. Maya, I didn't forget you. Not for one day. Then why didn't you come back? She shot back, tears stinging her eyes. Why didn't you come when my father died? When I was working double shifts just to survive. Do you have any idea how hard it was? The silence between them was sharp enough to cut. Finally, Ethan said quietly, I thought staying away was the best thing for you. I thought, you deserved someone better than a broke kid trying to find his way. I wanted to become someone first, someone who could protect you, give you the life you deserve. Maya's heart clenched. The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable. But it also hurt. You don't get to decide what I deserved, she whispered, turning away. Ethan didn't argue. He just stood there for a long moment, his jaw tight, before finally saying, you're right. And then he walked away. That night, Maya sat in her truck long after closing, staring at the little journal she kept under the counter. Inside were scraps of recipes, notes, and sometimes, on the loneliest nights, letters she never sent. One of them, crumpled and faded, was written to Ethan. She had written it the night of her father's funeral, begging him to come back. Of course, she never sent it. She had no address, no way of reaching him. But she had poured her heart out anyway. Now, seeing him again, all those old wounds were raw. And bleeding. The next day, Ethan didn't come. Nor the day after. For the first time in a week, Maya felt both relieved and disappointed. She told herself it was better this way. He had no place in her life anymore. But on the third day, just as she was closing up, a familiar shadow fell across her truck. Ethan. This time, he wasn't in a suit. He wore jeans, a plain shirt, and sneakers, like the boy she once knew. In his hands, he carried 2 coffees. I figured you might need one after a long day, he said gently, holding it out to her. Maya stared at him, unsure what to do. It's just coffee, Ethan added. No strings. Just, let me sit with you for a while. Against her better judgment, she took the cup. They sat on the curb together, sipping in silence as the city buzzed around them. For a moment, it felt like old times, like 2 kids dreaming again. Finally, Ethan spoke. I know I hurt you. And I don't expect forgiveness overnight. But Maya, I came back because I realized all the success in the world means nothing if I can't share it with the one person who always mattered most. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him. She really did. But scars didn't fade so easily. You left once, she whispered. How do I know you won't leave again? Ethan turned to her, his gaze steady. Because this time, I know what I'd be losing. That night, when Maya closed her eyes, she didn't dream of loneliness. She dreamed of laughter on warm summer nights, of hands clasped together under starlit skies. For the first time in years, hope crept in, unwanted, but impossible to ignore. The following week, Maya tried to convince herself that Ethan's words meant nothing. That his promises were just sweet lies whispered under city lights. But each day, his presence told a different story. Because Ethan kept showing up. Not just to order food, but to help. One morning, as Maya was struggling to unload a heavy crate of vegetables from the back of her truck, she nearly dropped it on the pavement. Before she could, strong hands caught it. Careful, Ethan said, his breath warm against her ear. Maya spun around. What are you doing here this early? Helping. He carried the crate with ease, setting it inside. You shouldn't be doing all this alone. I am doing this alone, she said sharply, though her cheeks betrayed her with a flush. Not anymore. And just like that, Ethan started showing up before sunrise. He'd haul boxes, wipe down counters, even wash dishes without complaint. Maya protested at first, but he was stubborn. She eventually gave up, though she refused to admit how much lighter her burdens felt. At lunch rush, customers began to notice. Maya, your new assistant's pretty good. One regular joked. Maya rolled her eyes. He's not my assistant. Ethan smirked. Just a very dedicated customer. Their banter drew chuckles, but behind Maya's irritation was something she couldn't deny. Ethan's presence made her food truck brighter, warmer. One quiet afternoon, business slowed, and Ethan leaned against the counter, watching her knead dough. You still make that little twist at the end, he said softly. Just like you used to when we baked bread in your dad's kitchen. Maya's hands stilled. That memory was buried deep, the way her father used to hum while teaching them recipes, Ethan sneaking extra butter when he thought no one was watching. You remember that? She asked quietly. I remember everything, Ethan replied, his voice steady. The truth in his eyes made her heart ache. Yet, for all the warmth, there was also tension. One evening, as they closed up, a sleek black car pulled up by the curb. A tall man in a crisp suit stepped out, one of Ethan's business associates. There you are, Carter, the man said impatiently. We've got a meeting in 20 minutes. What are you doing here? Ethan straightened. I'll be there. Go ahead. The man glanced at Maya's modest truck, his lip curling in disdain. This is what's been keeping you playing helper at some food stand. You're a CEO, Ethan. Don't waste your time on this. Maya froze, her chest tightening. She had suspected Ethan was successful, but CEO. Before she could process, Ethan's voice cut like steel. Don't ever talk about her like that. The man raised his brows. Her. Ethan's glare was enough to silence him. Go, he ordered. The man left reluctantly, muttering under his breath. Maya stood stiff, her arms crossed. CEO. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, sheepish. I was going to tell you, just not like that. Of course, Maya muttered bitterly. Because rich men always have good timing. Maya. No. She shook her head, blinking back tears. You don't get it. You're up there, she pointed toward the skyscrapers towering in the distance, and I'm down here. I sell tacos to survive. You sign $1 million contracts. We don't live in the same world anymore. Ethan stepped closer, his voice firm. We live in the same world because I want to. Money doesn't change what I feel for you. But it changes everything else, she whispered, turning away. The next few days were tense. Ethan still showed up, but Maya was distant, her words clipped. She couldn't stop thinking about the gap between them, the worlds apart they now lived in. But fate has a way of forcing hearts together. That Friday evening, the food truck was busier than usual. A sudden rush of customers overwhelmed Maya, orders piled up, sauces spilled, and her hands shook from exhaustion. Ethan jumped in without hesitation. You take the grill, he said calmly. I'll handle the register. Maya hesitated only a second before nodding. They moved in perfect sync, like they had done this 100 times before. Ethan handed out change with surprising charm, making customers laugh, while Maya worked the grill like lightning. Together, they turned chaos into flow. When the last customer left, Maya leaned against the counter, panting. "You were amazing," she admitted reluctantly. Ethan grinned. "Guess we make a good team." For a moment, silence stretched. Then, without thinking, Maya laughed. It was small, soft, but real. Ethan's eyes lit up like she had just handed him the world. Later that night, as they closed up, Maya found herself blurting out, "Why do you keep doing this, Ethan? Why keep showing up when I push you away?" He looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because I lost you once. I won't make that mistake again." Her throat tightened. The sincerity in his voice cracked something inside her walls. For the first time, Maya allowed herself to wonder, maybe the boy she once loved was still in there, buried under the CEO, the suits, the money. Maybe he never really left her at all. That night, as Maya lay in bed, she whispered into the dark. "Still remember me." And this time, instead of pain, the words brought a faint, dangerous hope. The next week was a blur. Maya tried to keep her heart steady, but Ethan's presence was no longer something she could ignore. Every morning he showed up, coffee in hand. Every evening, he stayed until the last pan was scrubbed. And every moment in between, the old rhythm they once shared slipped back into her life like it had never left. But for Maya, fear still lingered. Because life had taught her that good things don't last. One night, as they locked up, Ethan surprised her with a quiet, "Come with me." Before she could protest, he led her down the street to a park bench overlooking the river. The city lights shimmered across the water, painting the night with gold and silver. "This was our spot," Ethan said softly. Maya's breath caught. She remembered. As teenagers, they used to sneak away here, sitting for hours dreaming about the future. Back then, the river carried their laughter. Tonight, it carried a heavy silence. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, an old, worn-out coin. "You kept that?" Maya whispered in shock. "Always." He flipped it between his fingers. "You told me to keep it for luck. I carried it through college, through every meeting, every deal. Whenever things got tough, I held it and thought of you." Her heart ached. "And yet you never came back." "I wanted to," Ethan said, voice rough. "Every single day. But I told myself I had to be someone first. I thought if I came back too soon, with nothing to offer, I'd only drag you down." Maya shook her head, tears slipping free. "All I wanted was you, Ethan. Not money. Not promises. Just you." The pain in his eyes mirrored hers. "I know," he whispered. "And I was a fool to think otherwise." The air between them crackled with the weight of unsaid things. And then, before she could stop herself, Maya let out a shaky laugh. "Do you realize you've been helping me run a food truck in Armani shoes?" Ethan chuckled, relief breaking the tension. "They're more durable than they look." Their laughter faded into something softer, something warmer. And for a moment, the years melted away, leaving only the boy and girl who once dreamed by this river. But life wasn't done testing them. The next day, as Maya served lunch, a man in a suit approached, not Ethan this time, but someone new. He introduced himself as a property developer. "This lot's being sold," he announced briskly, handing her a notice. "You'll need to vacate in 30 days. Maya's stomach dropped. "What? This is my livelihood." The man shrugged. "Talk to the city. Nothing I can do." Her hands shook as she clutched the paper. She couldn't lose this spot, it was everything. Without it, her business would crumble. That evening, Ethan found her crying inside the truck. "Maya, what's wrong?" She shoved the paper at him. "They're taking it. My spot. Everything I've worked for, it's gone." Ethan's jaw clenched as he read. "I'll fix this," he said firmly. Maya glared through her tears. "No. Don't you dare throw money at this like it's just another problem to buy off. This is my fight." Ethan took a step closer, his voice gentle but steady. "I'm not trying to buy it, Maya. I'm trying to stand beside you. Like I should have, all those years ago." Her chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. "And if I fall, then I'll fall with you." Something in the way he said it broke through her last defenses. The following weeks were a storm. Together, they fought to save Maya's food truck, meeting with officials, gathering petitions, rallying loyal customers. Ethan used his influence not to overshadow her, but to amplify her voice. And slowly, Maya realized, he wasn't trying to change her world. He was fighting to protect it. On the final day of the hearing, Maya stood trembling before the city board, speaking from her heart. "This food truck isn't just mine," she said. "It's part of this community. It's my father's dream, and it's the only thing I've built with my own two hands. Please, don't take it away." When she stepped down, Ethan squeezed her hand under the table. The decision came after an agonizing wait. The lot would remain open for small businesses. Maya's truck was safe. Tears of relief streamed down her face as she turned to Ethan. "We did it." "No," he corrected softly. "You did it. I just stood where I should have been all along." That night, they returned to the river. The city lights sparkled like blessings above them. Maya turned to him, her heart full. "You really never forgot me, did you?" Ethan's gaze was steady, his voice low and sure. "Still remember you, Maya, I never stopped." And before she could reply, he leaned in, gentle at first, then with years of longing poured into a single kiss. The world around them faded. All that remained was the warmth of his lips, the strength of his arms, and the truth she had tried so hard to deny: she still loved him. Always had. Always would. Weeks later, Maya's food truck flourished more than ever. With Ethan by her side, not as a savior but as a partner, she expanded her menu, decorated the truck with fresh paint, and even started planning a second one. One evening, as they closed up, Ethan handed her a small box. Inside was a simple silver ring. Not flashy, not extravagant, just real. "I don't want to take you out of this life," he said softly. "I want to build it with you. Marry me, Maya. Not because I'm a CEO. Not because I can give you the world. But because without you, none of it means anything." Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, "Yes." And just like that, under the glow of city lights and the hum of the food truck, Maya Alvarez, the girl who once thought she was forgotten, realized she had always been remembered. Always loved.